Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television GPTV. I'm Brett. In my hands is Big Apple Diaries, an interesting graphic novel published by Brook Press. It's by Alyssa Bermudez, with cover design by Kirk, Benshoff, and it's kind of based off of Alyssa's life, her actual diaries. And it follows a girl named Alyssa who lives in New York City, and the story is kind of the time before September 11th and sometime after September 11th of 2001. When I say September 11th, I'm assuming you know what I'm referring to. It's an interesting graphic novel. It's really interesting in that we're coming up on 20 years. There is multiple graphic novels all released at roughly the same time, all taking and on the subject of looking at September 11th in different ways. This one I think is kind of fascinating in that it really captures, I think, something really interesting in that this is about Alyssa's life before and after that event. She's middle schooler going to high school. She has to deal with boys. She has to deal with grades. She has to deal with her divorced parents, and shuttling between two different apartments. She has to worry about what school she's going to go to in high school. It's fascinating by that. So very just day-to-day life and presented in very much a diary, as a diary. And then September 11th happens, and for a couple pages, maybe like a dozen pages or so, it deals with the after effects, and then it slowly moves back into her life and discussing about her friendships and going to high school and kind of getting back on those subjects pre-September 11th. In many ways, I think the story reflects on how we really treated that event. There is I'm trying to think exactly when it ends, the graphic novel. So it ends in June of 2002. So roughly about 6 months, like a little over 8 months, something like that, 9 months, whatever it is. Roughly about 9 months after the event. And it's really interesting in that you slowly see this world go back to normal. And I'm not going to say ignore the events, but you kind of see the steps that we all took. Like there was that shock and awe, and then there was the rah-rah USA, go kick ass, what can I do? What can I do to help? Ignoring all of the bad shit that came up around that, the attacks on Muslims and people that others thought was Muslim. Ignores that part of it, and from a kid's perspective, I wouldn't really expect them to pay attention to that, and then it kind of just gets back to that normal, and then there's the disruption of the remembrances of it, going by the rubble, going by the lights going off as a remembrance after 6 months. That's touched upon, but generally life goes back to normal, and I think it's really interesting because in so many ways we've done that. All these people say November, never forget, and we kind of put our flags out and take our moments of remembrance and all that, but generally while it impacted so many, we went back to our lives. Things really shifted a lot, but in the end, people just kind of went back to their lives, and I think that's what we see here. She's a kid. She's not going to go. This isn't going to touch upon the issues with individual rights and the vast powers given to agencies. It's not going to talk about the war and how well that went and invasion of Iraq. None of that's going to be touched upon because again, from the perspective of a kid. But it does kind of dance around the bad of it in many ways, and I think it's really kind of fascinating. It's a story about resilience in many ways, and Alyssa's life shifts due to just her moving on with life, and she has to deal with it, and then also get this impact of September 11th, and deals with the little and reflects upon it, but generally just gets back to her life. And I just think that it's really interesting like that. I mean, there's a lot of others that explore the day or try to explain the day of like the events as they happen. But it's something I think I'm missing for graphic novels so far, of like a real exploration of that time period. Like really explore what led up to it, and then really explore the good and the bad after. And where are we 20 years later? Like there's a lot of kind of touched upon stuff that is good for maybe people who didn't live through it, but like that real depth hasn't really hit yet. And what's interesting is like this graphic novel is like it's really just it's a diary. It's about this girl's life, Alyssa's real life. When going into it, I really thought this was going to be this heavy story about September 11th and the impact of it, and like the real sociological impact of it, and living in New York and all that. And it's not. That is a sliver of the overall story, and I think there's something fascinating by that. There's something really meta and thematic, and a great reflection of reality through that. Yeah, so it's interesting, and like just as like a diary and a girl growing up, it's cute. It's a really, really cute graphic novel, and the way it's presented, I think, is really interesting. You can see the art. It's not so much narrative. I mean, there's some of that in here, but you're kind of seeing the general sense. Like it really is a diary. This is kind of like what you're getting at when it kind of gets more into like the storytelling. It's there. It's just not quite. Yeah, there's another example of it. It's not quite a full narrative. It really is the perspective of this diary, and I think it's really neat. There's also some back material of Alyssa's real life, which I think is really neat, of what this was based off of. So overall, I think it's a fascinating read. It's really interesting, and it's one that I would love to talk to someone about, because clearly I think you can see it. Like I'm thinking about it, and it's just one of those of like as a diary, it's really good. As exploration of September 11th, there's something to it, but I can't quite put my finger on it. But just as a story of a girl ending middle school, going to high school, I think it's really interesting to it, and it just so happens that this occurs around September 11th. So out now in shops, so you can go get it. We got a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code. It'll tell you if a shop's near you. No comic shop, no problem. I have some links underneath this video. They'll likely be affiliate links. There are affiliate links. We get a small percentage by doing that. You'll support our site, so thank you. And speaking of support, I want to thank Roaring Brook Press for hooking us up with the review copy. And, of course, thank you all for watching. If you're into graphic novels, if you're into comics in general, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. Until next time, keep reading those comics and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.